As we celebrate Mother's Day, the American Mother's Day that is, we honor all mothers who would do anything for their children. So sit tight and prepare to be moved by a story of a mother's courage and determination in the face of danger. On the morning of the 3rd of September, Emma Schols woke up early to 2 of her 6 children playing downstairs. This morning, that seemed to be a regular morning like so many others, was everything but that. This morning would change their lives forever. The night before, she'd stayed up late studying with the laptop in front of her. Out of sheer exhaustion, Emma forgot to pull out the computer charger out of the wall before going to bed. This was probably the reason why the next day turned out to be something completely different from what she had imagined. While the early morning sons, Oliver and Albin, went downstairs to play, even before the alarm clock rang, Emma remained in bed and stretched. The morning peace was interrupted by 4-year-old Albin's terrified screams, "Help, Mom, there's a fire in the TV room." Emma threw herself out of the bed and could already see from the stairs how the entire TV room was up in flames. The children's father worked on call, and her first thought when she saw the fire was, "This can't happen now that I'm alone with the kids." She understood that the fire was too extensive for her to put out by herself. Therefore, her only focus was to get the kids out of the house. But the hard part was that the kids, they were all in different places in the house. Oliver and Albin were the only kids downstairs with Emma, and when she opened the front door to let them out, there was an explosion. And she threw herself in front of her sons to protect them from the fire and managed to get them outside unharmed. Then she locked the front door so that the boys couldn't get back in the house. There was fire everywhere, and everywhere she turned, she found herself in the middle of flames. But she understood that she still had 4 kids upstairs, and if she didn't go through the fire, they would all burn to death. She was panicked, but she started shouting instructions to the kids to run out onto the balcony. For a moment, she thought she'd gotten everyone out, but then she heard a noise from inside the burning house. Emma made her way to the bedroom, where barely 2-year-old Molly stood screaming in her cot. And Emma was feeling so weak in her body, she felt like she was close to death. But when she heard Molly call out, "Mommy, Mommy," she found new strength. And in that moment she thought, "I gave birth to all of these children, and I will get all of these 6 children out of this burning house. Then I can die." When Emma came out onto the balcony with Molly in her arms, 9-year-old Nellie had jumped down from there and ran to the neighbors to call for help. 11-year-old William lifted a painter's ladder over the balcony railing. As Emma climbed down the ladder, she noticed how the skin flayed from her body and was almost falling off. Once on the ground, she collapsed powerlessly into the grass. She felt like she'd done everything she could. The other children went over to the neighbors, but William stayed with her. He didn't want to leave her side. Emma had suffered 93% burns, and for a long time, it was uncertain whether she could really be able to return to life. Due to the painful injuries, she was already sedated in the emergency room. Immediately after the accident, medical personnel are forced to drill an entrance into the skeleton to pump in water because the blood vessels are burned. With 93% burns, few survived, and Emma hovered between life and death for a long time. The children have always been everything, her goal and meaning in life. When Emma woke up after 3 weeks of sedation, her first question was how the children were. Were all 6 still alive? The doctor explained that all the children had miraculously escaped completely unscathed, thanks to Emma taking the injuries that they would have received if she had not protected them from the fire. At first, Emma found it hard to believe that all of her 6 children had really come out of the fire. The only way to convince Emma that all her kids were safe and sound was to let her meet them. They had wanted to spare the children the sight of their mother. The burns, combined with 40 liters of water being pumped into her to save the internal organs, had turned Emma beyond recognition. It was a big day when, a month and a half later after the accident, she would finally be reunited with her children. The kids were the only thing that made Emma fight for survival. If any of them had died in the fire, she wouldn't be alive today. Emma had a tracheotomy in her throat to be able to breathe, which affected her voice. It sounded a bit robotic. Her youngest in particular was terrified and didn't understand that Emma was her mother, but she couldn't really express herself. Everything was like a big question mark for her. And Emma was afraid that her youngest daughter wouldn't want to bond with her again. Her face was swollen from all the medication and had lost her hair. She looked completely different. But her doctors were amazed at how quickly and well the healing went. He had never before faced anyone who recovered so well given the odds. At the beginning of 2020, Emma finally got to come home to her family. She couldn't manage on her own and needed a lot of support and help with big and small things. Slowly but surely, and with a lot of training and rehabilitation, she became increasingly independent. In the hospital, she didn't know if she would ever be able to walk again. She had major injuries on her feet and the skin was tight and painful everywhere. But she learned to walk and forced herself to face new challenges to become stronger and a fully functioning mother to her children. After the dramatic fire in Edsbyn, there was a lot of media attention. The news about the brave mother also reached other countries, and Emma was named Lifeguard of the Year in 2020 at the Swedish Heroes Gala. She was contacted by media all the time, but chose to say no to most of them. For her, the first priority was to reconnect with her children, to listen to them and to be there for them after everything that happened, and she didn't want to miss a single moment with them. The reunion with her children went better than expected. The worry that her youngest daughter Molly would distance herself from her disappeared the second the trach was removed and she regained her normal voice. It may seem like a paradox, but Emma feels even happier today than she was before the fire. According to Emma, she's never been a person that's taken anything for granted and knows that difficult things can happen to anyone at any time. But she feels like after the fire, she lives life more fully and takes advantage of the small moments and wants to be fully present in the moment. She stopped spending energy on trivial problems and knows that the most precious thing we have is time, and she wants to spend it on the right things. Emma wanted to own her history, which was one of the reasons why she wrote a book about the incident. The writing and storytelling gave her an opportunity to process the mental trauma of the accident. Emma said, "With the book, I put an end to the trauma, even though I always carry it with me. Now I want to take my next step. I want to reach out to others with my story. I want to give inspiration and hope. It is possible to come back after a serious accident, but it is important to not let yourself break down mentally and not to give up. I myself was more dead than alive, and here I am today." Although she is physically more limited than before, she feels happier than ever. After not being able to eat by herself, take care of her own hygiene, or even being able to breathe by herself, she said it feels luxurious to be in the middle of the everyday rush again. She enjoys picking up the dishes or tackling the overflowing laundry basket. The everyday stuff that felt mundane before now feels like a privilege. Emma Schols' heroic act serves as a powerful reminder of the incredible strength and courage that mothers possess when their children are in danger. They become unstoppable and nothing can stand in their way. On this Mother's Day, we celebrate and honor all mothers out there, all the mothers who make sacrifices daily for their families. They are the real superheroes in our lives, and we owe them a depth of gratitude that can never be fully repaid. So to all of the mothers watching this, know that you are loved, appreciated, and admired for the incredible sacrifices you make every day. And to all the children out there, tell your mother you love her. Happy Mother's Day. Stay safe.